Good, this music theory, isn't it? Okay, let's talk about some other triads now. Although, to be honest, 98% of the time you're going to be dealing with chords that are extensions of either the 1-3-5 or the 1-flat-3-5, either the major or the minor triads. But there are some special chords that are based on taking a major triad and stretching it by sharpening the fifth note. So that gives us the formula 1, 3, sharp 5. These are referred to as augmented, which is a word I like to define as even more major than major. Or increasingly these days they're just referred to as sharp 5 chords. Now let's take a look at what happens when we augment a major triad. So here's our D major chord. To turn it into a D augmented triad, we need to sharpen the fifth note of the scale. So in the key of D, we go D, E, F, G, A. So A is the fifth. Now then, where have we got an A? That's an F sharp, that's a D, that's an A. We've also got an A there on the open string, but let's just look at the top end. Let's take that A up to A sharp and play that instead. And I'll be careful here for a minute just to avoid that string. So I'm just playing the top 4 strings. And that's the augmented sound. I always think of this chord as sounding slightly surprised. It's got a sort of surprised sound about it. So there again, D major. Take the fifth note of the scale, sharpen it, and you get D major. The way I might use that is to link from chord 1 to chord 4 in the key, so from D to G, quite nice, especially in slow tunes. D, augmented, G. You can hear it really sort of smooths out that change. Okay, let's have a look at C. If we look at the C major chord, in the key of C, we got C, D, E, F, G is our fifth. Well, there's only one G note here, and that's the open G. And to augment that, I'm just going to bar that finger across and include that third string as well as the second string, and we get. And again, that makes a nice link from C to F. There we go. Now, I'll show you a couple of other uses of augmented triads. Supposing I was playing a blues in A, I might use it, especially in an introduction, as a substitute for the fifth chord, the E chord. So supposing I did something like this, instead of going to E seventh, I could go to A flat augmented. Now that's a really nice kind of way of putting the brakes on the introduction of the blues. So that's another use of it. And then think about it, there's one famous use of it in rock and roll. If you think of Chuck Berry's No Particular Place to Go, that starts out with an augmented triad here. And that's how that song's introduced. So yeah, a couple of uses of the augmented triad there for you. Similarly, we can take a minor triad and shrink it by flatting the fifth. This gives us the formula 1, flat 3, flat 5. And the word used for this triad and all the chords built on it is diminished. a word that I define as meaning even more minor than minor. Let's have a look at how we'd form an A diminished triad. So, if I start with A major, there's our third note, the C sharp. I take that down to C. That gives us A minor. But then I take our fifth note of the scale, A, and take that down to A, I beg your pardon, I'm talking nonsense. I take the fifth note of the scale, E, and take that down to E flat. And that gives us the A diminished triad. Notice I'm only playing that on the middle four strings because I don't want to have to take the E down a semitone here. I'd have to do that by detuning it. It's too much like hard work. So that's just a four note fingering for the diminished triad there. Okay, let's do a similar exercise on the E. There's E major. There's our third note. Flatten that down from G sharp to G. That gives us E minor. There's our fifth note, B. Let's take that down to B flat, and that will give us B diminished. And again, I'm only playing that on the bottom four strings because I've got a B there on the open string, which I can't really take any further down. So again, that's just a four note fingering. Very dark sounding chord, the diminished triad. But it's a very useful building block chord. Finally, there are two more chords that I want to talk about, which arguably don't belong in the category of triads. Purists would argue that they don't. They'd argue that they're not proper chords. But let's have a look. These are the suspended chords. Now, to make a suspended chord, you replace the third. Most commonly with the fourth of the scale, less commonly with the second note of the scale. So that gives us two types of suspended chord. Now, because the chord doesn't have a third in it, this is where the argument comes that it's not a proper chord. The idea is that in order to be a proper chord, you must include the third. However, these are chords that guitarists in particular use quite a bit, so I think it's important to include them here in our discussion. So let's look at how we take a D major and turn it into a D suspended fourth. So here's our D major, and what we're looking for is the third note, and if you remember that F sharp in the key of D, we've got that here, and we're going to take that up to the fourth note in the key of D, which is G. So D sus, we normally just play by adding the little finger there. We just go D major, D suspended fourth. And right away I think you can hear why it's called suspended. It's because it wants to come back to the major. It's like a sense of relief, a sense of resolution when it comes back. So hence the name suspended. Okay, let's look at A. There's our A. Third in the key of A is A, B, C, C sharp. So we've got there. Let's take that up by, again, we'll just add the little finger there on the note D. Here it resolves back to the major very nicely. Okay, so to make a suspended second, again we can start with the major chord, identify the third, in this case C sharp, there at the second fret on the B string, and this time we take it down to the second note of the scale, in the scale of A major, that's the note B, so that's just simply open. Again, you can hear it's kind of up in the air and wants to resolve back to the third again. Similarly on the D chord, the third is the F sharp, and I take that down to E. Notice you have to take it down a whole tone. If you only take it down a semitone, you're simply making a minor chord. By taking it down a tone, you're replacing the third altogether with the second, and that gives us again, it likes to resolve back to the major or to the minor. There's quite a few songs that use suspended chords sort of melodically. The Beatles, George Harrison. They're using the suspended second. Rolling Stones use the suspended fourths in a more sort of rocky way, this sort of thing. And Mike Oldfield, the man who made Richard Branson famous, no, he made himself famous, he made Richard Branson rich. His big hit was Tubular Bells, which went something like entirely made up of the suspended second and suspended fourth chords there. Very, very simple idea, very effective. Okay, so just a couple of examples there. Well, I hope you found that interesting, and maybe we shed a bit of light on one or two things about chords that might have had you wondering in the past. Now, looking forward to the next couple of lessons, we're now going to head off back to the subject of fretboard orientation. And the next two lessons are kind of massively important ones, really to help you find all these things that we've been talking about in the theory lessons on the fretboard. So look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. We're going to look at something called the caged system.